to order. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears.
Present.
Vice President Caraviallo. Present. Councilor Knight. Present. Councilor Marks. Present. Councilor Morell.
Present.
Councilor Scarpelli. Present. President Falco.
All 7 members are present. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Medford City Council will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information in the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with the right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the City of Medford website at www.medfordma.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may do so by accessing the meeting link contained herein. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Medford or Medford Community Media website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. To participate remotely outside of Zoom, please email our city clerk, A. Hurtubise, that is AHURTUBISE, at medford-ma.gov. At this point in time, I'd just like to make a general announcement that we are having intermittent internet issues here at City Hall, and we are unable to actually broadcast the meeting via Zoom tonight. So if anyone has questions that may be watching on TV, we ask you to please email the city clerk directly. That is Adam Hurtubise. Once again, that is AHURTUBISE at Medford, medford-ma.gov. Motions, orders, and resolutions 20-674 offered by Councilor Knight. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council requests the discontinuance of the use of asphalt sidewalk replacement panels in the City of Medford. Councilor Knight.
Yes, Mr. President, maybe 4 years ago, the DPW implemented a practice where they would use asphalt to replace sidewalk panels with the intention of coming back at a later date and replacing them with concrete when concrete crews are outperforming the type of work. But what I'm seeing is that it's becoming few and far between that these asphalt replacement panels are actually replacement panels, Mr. President. They're staying there, I think, far past their shelf life, and they're degrading at a rate that would be much faster than that of our concrete sidewalks. Plus, they don't necessarily have the same curb appeal, and just aren't as aesthetically pleasing, Mr. President. So we've seen issues across the community where asphalt sidewalks have been put in front of the Lawrence Memorial Hospital, for example, and other places where the neighborhood really hasn't liked the look of it, hasn't wanted that to be the standard that's acceptable in our community, and I really don't think it is an acceptable standard, Mr. President. So with that being said, I'm asking that the DPW discontinue the use of using asphalt sidewalk replacement panels and revert back to using concrete or some other semi-pervious material, Mr. President, that has a little bit more curb appeal than that of black asphalt.
Thank you, Councilor Knight. On the motion of Councilor Knight, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli.
Mr. President, just if I could, and
Yes.
I understand what the, Councilor Knight's intent is, there are areas in the city that strictly have just asphalt sidewalks. And I just want to make sure that we're not just discontinuing the use of asphalt in general, because there are areas in the city that require the replacement of asphalt. So I just want to make that known. I think Councilor Knight is pushing for where it's replacing an existing cement sidewalk, but I just want to make sure we're not discontinuing the use of asphalt in general.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Councilor Marks.
To mean a continuity of aesthetics, Mr. President.
I'm sorry, Councilor Knight?
To remain, to have some continuity in the aesthetics.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilor Marks. Any other questions or comments from the council? Clerk Hurtubise, have you received any emails?
I have not.
Okay, you have not. So on the motion of Council Knight, seconded by Council Scarpelli, Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Carviallo.
Yes.
Counselor Knight. Yes. Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Morel.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. 20-675, offered by Councilor Beers, be it resolved by the Medford City Council that the updates on the COVID-19 mitigation actions and COVID-19 safety enforcement actions requested at the council's December 8th meeting be presented. Councilor Beers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to acknowledge that we did get a written update today from Health Director O'Connor on this topic. I would like to motion to table this until next week so that we can have that presented.
Thank you. Councilor Beers, was that sent late this afternoon, or?
I believe, yeah, I mean, my email has been a little, city email has also been having issues, so I have not been able to send emails. I don't know if everyone has received it, but I got an email around 4:30.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you. So there's the motion to table, if I'm correct?
Yeah, motion to table for 1 week.
Till next week?
To next week, right? Okay, motion, on the motion of Councilor Beers to have this table to next week, seconded by Vice President Carviallo. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Carviallo.
Yes.
Counselor Knight. Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Morel.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. The next resolution is offered by Councilor Beers, 20676, and if I'm correct, Councilor Scarpelli has a similar resolution, that will be 20-679.
Request a table, 20679.
Yes. And 676 as well.
Okay, so on the motion of Councilors Scarpelli and Councilor Beers to table 20-676 and 20-679 to next week. Seconded by Vice President Carviallo. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll. Yep.
Counselor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Carviallo.
Yes.
Counselor Knight. Yes. Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Morel.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. 20-677, offered by Councilor Knight. Be it resolved that the city administration provide the council with a copy of its COVID vaccination distribution plan. Councilor Knight.
Mr. President, I feel as though this is a rather self-explanatory resolve. I'm just asking to know what it is, what approach it is that the city administration intends to take when vaccinations become available in our community, what the sites are going to be, what the locations are going to be, who the priority individuals to receive the vaccination will be. So with that being said, Mr. President, I ask that this paper be forwarded to the administration for a written response.
Thank you, Councilor Knight. Any other questions or comments from the council? Okay,
Second.
Clerk Hurtubise, any emails?
No emails, Mr. President.
On the motion of Councilor Knight, seconded by Councilor Beers. Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Carviallo.
Yes.
Counselor Knight. Yes. Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Morel.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. 20-678.
Motion to table, Mr. President.
On the motion of Councilor Knight to table 20-678, seconded by?
Second. Is it tabled for a week, or is it just tabled?
1 week, yep.
Table to next week, Councilor Knight?
Whatever, we can always take it off the table if it doesn't have a date on it, but yeah, that's fine, next week is great.
So on the motion of Councilor Knight, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli to table 20-678.
So is it, I'm still unclear, is it for 1 week, or is it just general tabling? I'm still
It's,
unclear.
I believe it's a general.
Next. Just put it on next week. Doesn't-
Next week.
Thank you, Counselor.
On that motion, Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Carviallo.
Yes.
Counselor Knight.
Yes.
Counselor Marks. Yes. Counselor Morel.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. Reports to committees, 20-295, 19-660, and 20-519. There was a committee of the whole meeting on December 2nd, 2020 to discuss those matters. The purpose of the meeting was to review and update the collection bin ordinance, the promote, prevent, support behavioral health commission ordinance, and the rodent ordinance. We received updates from our city solicitor as well as Attorney Stein from KP Law, and we should be receiving updates back from the city solicitor's office soon. On the motion of Councilor Scott Pelley to approve that report, seconded by Councilor Knight. Clerk Kirby, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo.
Yes.
Councilor Knight. Yes. Councilor Marks.
Yes.
Councilor Morel.
yes,
Councilor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes.
It was last Tuesday. I don't know which one it was. I can go get it if you need me to.
Okay, 20-643, December 8, 2020. That was the committee, the whole report regarding taxes and setting the tax rate for the upcoming year. On the motion of Vice President
Second.
Caraviallo to approve, seconded by Councilor Bears. Clerk Kirby, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo.
Yes.
Councilor Knight. Yes. Councilor Marks. Yes. Councilor Morel.
yes,
Councilor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. 20-568, December 9, 2020, Committee of the Whole. That was the, our Committee of the Whole report with our zoning consultant, Mark Bobrowski. He will be, we talked to him about a number of issues, and he will be sending us a draft of our updated zoning, and that should be coming, I believe he said right around Christmas Eve, so that would be next Thursday, I believe. On the motion of Vice President Caraviallo, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli. Clerk Kirby, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo.
Yes.
Councilor Knight. Yes. Councilor Marks.
Yes.
Councilor Morel.
yes,
Councilor Scarpelli. Yes. President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes.
Motion to take papers under suspension, Mr.
On
President?
the motion of Vice President Caraviallo to take papers under suspension, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli. Clerk Kirby, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo.
Yes.
Councilor Knight. Yes. Councilor Marks.
Yes.
Councilor Morel.
yes,
Councilor Scarpelli. Yes. President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. 20-682, offered by Councilor Marks. Be resolved that the Medford High School Hall of Famer Brian Branson be recognized and officially honored by the City of Medford for his several decades of unselfish volunteerism and commitment to Medford High student athletes and sport programs. Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President, and it's an honor and pleasure to speak tonight on behalf of Brian Branson, Mr. President. Anyone that has come in contact with Brian or personally knows Brian can attest to his character, Mr. President. Brian is a courageous man. While fighting and battling a current illness, he still gives himself to others, Mr. President, and still finds time in his own trying time to find time to be kind to others and to donate his time, Mr. President, which to me speaks volumes about a person and who they are. He's a true gentleman. He's a kind heart and a good friend. And I know there are a number of people, Mr. President, that have contacted me that would like to speak on Brian's behalf. However, where Zoom is not operating tonight, I would ask that you give residents the liberty next week, if they choose to speak on this, Mr. President. So I would respectfully ask that happen. Brian is a Mustang and has Mustang pride embedded in his DNA. He has, as we refer to, blue and white. Anyone that has played sports for Medford High School or volunteered for the sport program, in my opinion, have blue and white that runs through their veins. And Brian is no different. He bleeds blue and white. And as a member of the Hall of Fame, which I can't say I've ever been inducted, Mr. President, it's a big privilege to be a member of the Hall of Fame. And Brian truly is that person that deserves the honor, Mr. President. He volunteered every Saturday for 20 years to help student athletes at Medford High School. 20 years of a commitment. Never once looked for any recognition. Never once, waved a banner and said, look what I'm doing. Everything was behind the scenes, and he did it to help student athletes out. And again, that speaks volumes about a person. He's a current and active baseball umpire, and he loves the sport. He likes to be around it. He likes the camaraderie. He likes dealing with the athletes. And he's a fair man, as I think anyone would speak when they mention his name. He was involved for many years and still is with Medford High baseball and the football programs as the equipment manager, and that's a tough job. Don't think for a second that's not a tough job. And the stats manager, which is equally a tough job, Mr. President. Brian is involved with the Coaches versus Cancer yearly charity fundraiser, Mr. President. It's an event that's part of the American Cancer Society, and it spotlights cancer awareness through the playing of our national pastime to raise money, in which it raised tens of thousands of dollars for cancer, Mr. President. And Brian has been part of that over the years. Brian also played senior Babe Ruth baseball for the Medford Rotary Colts, and he helped coach Medford's Mega Club, which is a long-established club in this community. And, I think it's only fitting, Mr. President, to find someone that has such a commitment to this community and dedication, unselfishness, and reward them, Mr. President. So I would respectfully ask my colleagues that we send, we don't want to vote on it tonight, we can vote on it next week because this was offered under suspension, but where it's a congratulatory thing, Mr. President, I think it would be acceptable voting on it tonight. I would respectfully ask that we vote to send this paper to the athletic director at Medford High School and also the Hormel Commission, and have them come up in unison with some naming dedication, Mr. President, that would rightfully fit Brian Branson and all the years, the decades of volunteerism and service to Medford High School athletes and the entire community in general. So I would respectfully offer that tonight, Mr. President, and I just want to personally thank Brian. We're both 1984 graduates of Medford High School, and I just personally would like to thank him, Mr. President, for his many years of volunteerism in this community.
Thank you, Councilor Marks. Councilor Scott Pelley.
Thank you, and thank you for Council Marks for bringing this forward. You want to talk about an individual in this community where, you're seeing so many social issues and so many variations of what's right and wrong in this world, and Brian Branson is what's true and what's real about Medford. He was, and still is, one of the most dedicated people to this community, their kids and their sports, and mostly anything. One thing that, it's funny that I've known Brian probably my whole life, and you don't realize he's a great family man, he's a proud dad, he's someone that's committed to his children, but at the same time, you wouldn't know that if you were a Mustang, because it seems like Brian's always given to Medford High and the blue and white. I am fortunate that I am on the Hall of Fame with Brian Branson, and to be on a plaque or on a committee or on a group that has Brian Branson as a representative, to me is an honor as a Hall of Famer. He is that type of person. I've often coached while Brian umpired games, and Brian's not afraid to tell you what's up, and he's a man of strong conviction, and I think he always taught sportsmanship and fair play, and how always to work hard and always love Medford. One thing he doesn't realize, I don't know how, in today's society, when you have individuals with different physical issues, I'm proud that this community rallies around young kids that have these disabilities, and we really champion that. Brian grew up in an era where I can remember that if you had a kid with vision issues or hearing issues, you didn't talk about it. That person never stood out. Brian Branson had his issues and never hid from it. He was always on the forefront. And that's why, to me, he was a hero. He let nothing get in his way. He didn't mind to be with any group in the high school or anywhere in this community, and he always stood strong as a Mustang. And I'm proud to call him my friend. So I know Brian's going through a tough time in his life right now, and he truly is a warrior, truly a warrior. And for Council Marks to bring this forward, when you talk about naming rights of different entities, and you want to say why or why not, and Brian is a perfect example to say why. Why aren't we? Why wouldn't we? Because you want that name to go down in history, that kids will always talk about, and that story will always be told, and who Brian Branson is and what he's done for our community in the city of Medford, because he's left that type of impression. At least for one council, that's what he's left with me. And I know my children, when my son is around Brian, he understands why he's there. So when you want to do something, go do something because nobody's watching, because that's what Brian Branson has always taught us. Go do something because you love it. Go do something because you have pride in something. And don't expect for anything else. And that's why I'm rambling on tonight, because he wouldn't want this, he wouldn't expect it, but he deserves it. So I know I'm a little winded, but if anybody needs that wind, it's Brian Branson. So thank you, Council Marks, for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councilor Scarpelli. And if I may quickly, I first met Brian Branson when I was 15 years old. I was a sophomore at Medford High School, and like Councilor Marks mentioned, Brian was the team manager for the football team, and believe it or not, I played football. And but he's just an amazing person. People like Brian are people that you want in your community. And I remember being 15 years old, and I remember learning, right away from Coach Bud Kelly. And he would always talk about, blue and white running through your veins. You have blue and white running through your veins. And that was all about Mustang football and being dedicated and committed. And being someone who was committed to the team, but also committed to the city and working hard. And that's someone, and I will tell you something, there is no one that has more blue and white running through their veins than Brian Branson. He is a remarkable person who just very dedicated to our community, dedicated to sports at the high school for years. And like Councilor Marks said, I think at least probably 20 years that he was a statistician at the high school, working with the football team and the baseball team. And I remember seeing him every Saturday when I played. And then after that, I'd come back and he was still there and he was still doing it. And he loved it. And he loved giving back. And later on in life, he decided, well, I'm going to be an umpire. And I remember saying to him, you sure you want to do that? and he wanted to do it, and he loves doing it. And I know he goes out to Cooperstown every year to actually the home of actually that's where our city clerk was born and raised. But Brian would go out there every year to umpire baseball games for the whole weekend. And he loved it, and he enjoyed it, and he always gave back. So I think this is a very fitting honor. Council Marks, I thank you for bringing this forward. Councilor Scarpelli and Councilor Marks, you both hit it on the head with the words that you had to say. He's completely committed to our city, to the youth of our community, and it's a well-deserved honor. So on the motion of Councilor Marks, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli, Clerk Hurtubise, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo.
Yes.
Councilor Knight. Yes. Councilor Marks.
Yes.
Councilor Morell.
Yes.
Councilor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. Under suspension offered by Vice President Caraviallo, Councilor Scarpelli, Councilor Marks, be it resolved that the Medford City Council commend and congratulate John Giglio from VIP Barbershop on his recent retirement. John owned and operated VIP Barbershop for over 50 years. Vice President Caraviallo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I think you're going to find it very hard to find someone who hasn't gotten a haircut from John over the years. John, he was a Memphis Square staple as long as I can remember. I remember when I was young, I got my haircut there. He was doing hairstyling when it wasn't even fashionable to do hairstyling. And now he's finally hanging up his scissors after 50-plus years of cutting people's hair. So I just want to wish John a healthy retirement and wherever he goes on his next adventure. But good guy and good community guy, and I say he'll be missed in the square.
Thank you, Vice President Caraviallo. Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank my two colleagues for putting this on. You know, as Councilor Caraviallo mentioned, that, you know, Brian was synonymous with, John was synonymous with the square. And indeed, I got my hair cut back. I think everyone, like you said, got their haircut at some point. And you know what, Mr. President? I stopped going there because John gave one haircut. So when you went in there and said, I'd like this or this, John gave you the haircut he wanted to give you. And everyone had that haircut, Mr. President.
Yeah.
He was a good guy. You go in there, you talk about sports. You know, I still don't know how, I know he's been there a long time. If you look at him, he doesn't look like he's ready to retire.
Yeah.
He's in good shape. He's good. I mean, everything about him looks good. I wish him well, Mr. President. He will be missed. Those faces that you come to know and love in an area, and then they're not there any longer. You do miss it, Mr. President, but this retirement is well warranted, and I wish him well, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Marks. Councilor Scarpelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, thank you for my colleagues bringing this forward. I know that John was a great guy. You know, the only difference between myself and my colleagues, something happened with my head and theirs. So he must have used his different tonic that he lost my business at about 30. But I will tell you, my son's first haircut, I'll never forget the day making that trip to VIP and strapping John in. And I've gone through a lot of tough times with my son that really questioned your father and son, and whether, you know, really shook you up a little. But watching John put my son in a headlock to give him his first haircut was something special. So, but he did it with such love that, you know what, he was in good hands. So he was a great businessman. Like my colleague said, he could talk about politics in the city. He could talk about politics nationwide. He could talk about any sports program. You know, as I coached high school sports, he knew my record. He knew what was going on with the team. Always kept involved, and whenever, you know, you'd hear him speak to other clients, and you want to jump in the conversation. So it really, truly became that community meeting spot. And you know, I know that he's got some great barbers there now, but he's definitely going to be missed. He's wish him luck, like Council Marks said. He must be going on 30 years old because he looks younger. I don't know how it works. So, but a lot of my hair was left on that floor, Council Falco, and I blame him. But thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Scarpelli.
All of it.
And if I may also congratulate John on his recent retirement. John watched me go from absolutely like full head of hair. At one time, I actually had like Adam Knight hair, I think. And,
No, you didn't. No, you
it was
didn't.
a long time ago, or at least Rick Caraviallo. But at one time, it was that thick, and that's when I first met John. And he saw me from beginning to this. So, but I want to wish John well on his retirement. Like my colleague said, John is a great guy, fabulous guy. We'll miss seeing him in the square. I used to always see him in the square. If not, you know, cutting hair, we'd be walking around or getting a coffee. But just a fabulous guy, great guy to talk to, and we wish him well on his retirement. On the motion of Councilors, Vice President Caraviallo, Councilor Marks, and Councilor Scarpelli, seconded by Councilor Knight. Clerk Kirby, please call the roll.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo.
Yes.
Councilor Knight. Councilor Marks.
Yes.
Councilor Morell.
Yes.
Councilor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Falco.
Yes, 7 affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. The records of the meeting of December 8th were passed to Vice President Caraviallo. Vice President Caraviallo, how did you find those records? Okay, Vice President Caraviallo is still reviewing those records, so motion to table to next meeting by Vice
Second.
President Caraviallo, seconded by Councilor Bears. Clerk Urtubise, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo.
Yes.
Counselor Knight. Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Morel.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli. President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes. On the motion of Vice President Caraviallo to adjourn the meeting, seconded by...
Cancel the meeting next?
We'll do it next week,
Next
just in
week?
case,
Okay.
if something pops, you know. Okay, on the motion of Vice President Caraviallo to adjourn the meeting, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli. Clerk Urtubise, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears.
Yes.
Vice President Caraviallo. Counselor Knight. Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Morel.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli. President Falco.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, the motion passes and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, good night.